Hi guys, and thanks for tuning in for week 7 of our 8-week broiler project. If you are just now joining us, we've been raising meat birds from 1-day-old baby chicks and checking in with you weekly to go over the process of raising meat birds. Check out our channel to get caught up. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss the last couple episodes that we'll have of this series. You will not want to miss watching us butcher our own meat birds since we couldn't find a processor. So week 7, today brings us to week 7, and really nothing changes this week other than still checking the same things I've kind of been repeating every week. You know, that they have plenty of feed during the day, taking it away at night, making sure there is constant fresh water available for them, keeping an eye out for any odd behaviors. Other than that, nothing really changes. So since there's not really anything new to cover, I thought I would cover some of the most frequently asked questions that I get from our customers. So before I get into that, we went ahead and weighed one of our bigger meat birds from our flock here, and it weighed at 8 pounds. So if we were to butcher them now, we would likely end up with like a 6.5, 6 3/4 pound meat bird. The first question that I want to go over that I get asked quite a bit is, can I raise my meat bird chicks with egg layer type chicks or even other types of poultry? This is what I usually let customers know. I cannot say that it is impossible. I can't say that people don't do it successfully. I know there are people out there that prefer to raise their whole flock together. It is not what we would recommend as the best practice. There's a couple different reasons for that. As I've mentioned a few times throughout our previous videos, meat birds take a little bit different feed than egg layers would, and their feed's even different than what baby turkeys, which are called poults, than what they would need, or even ducklings. The brooder setup can be different for you know, the different types of poultry, and that on top of how quickly they grow compared to other types of chickens can cause a problem. They can either end up stomping on the smaller chicks as they're getting so much bigger, so much quicker, or pecking, bullying kind of issues can arise. So it's really not what we would recommend as the best practice. Raising them separate is going to give you the best long-term success or the most consistent success for your flocks. Again, not that it's impossible and not that you can't give it a try. Just be aware that there are a few different situations that can come up that may end up causing you to have some troubles. So the next question I get a lot, which is actually talked about quite a bit, is why do meat birds grow so fast? Are they given steroids or other growth hormones? That is an urban myth. Their fast growth rate is the result of decades of research on crossbreeding and genetic selection, much the same as how we ended up with Great Danes or Chihuahuas. Breeding companies took 2 birds that had desirable traits and they bred them. So different breeding companies will breed for the traits that they deem desirable. We carry what's called the Ross 708 strain from the breeding company we get our eggs from. We have found, we really tend to prefer those just because of their musculoskeletal system. Seems to hold up really well with their fast growing nature. But again, no steroids, no growth hormones. There aren't chickens out there with 8 wings like I heard once, or have heard a couple times growing up. That doesn't happen. The last question I hear most frequently from our customers is, should I get my meat birds vaccinated for Mareks disease? So Mareks disease, just to let you know what it is a disease that affects the liver in chickens and can end up being fatal. It becomes a problem mostly with like egg layers. All of a sudden you have a lot of death loss, not sure why. A lot of the times it ends up being Mareks disease. So there's a couple things I like to tell customers when they ask me if they should get their meat birds vaccinated. And I ask a question first to determine whether it's necessary at all. Do you want to eat the livers? Are you going to keep the livers from your processor once you have them butchered? If you do, then it may not be a bad idea. Since Mareks disease is something that affects their liver, it would, if they did contract Marek's disease, you would not be able to eat the liver. However, it doesn't affect the rest of the meat. So if you're gonna have the processor just toss out the livers, you're not gonna keep them at all, then it's gonna be a little bit up to you, but it's not completely necessary. It's not that the meat birds can't contract Marek's disease in the 5 to 9 weeks that you're gonna be raising them. It's that you really aren't gonna see too much of an issue out of it in that small amount of time. Marek's disease takes a little bit longer for it to become fatal or start really decreasing your flock with death loss. And again, it doesn't affect the meat that you're gonna eat. So if you wanna eat the livers, then it might not be a bad idea. It's not that your birds will absolutely get Marek's disease if you don't get them vaccinated, but getting them vaccinated would for sure protect you against it or significantly decrease the chance of having an issue with it. Another thing is that if you've had issues with Marek's disease in the past, if you've had any other flocks come down with Marek's disease or contract it, then it also might not be a bad idea, especially if you're wanting to eat the livers, because once you've had it before, you're a little more susceptible to having to deal with it again. It's something that can just kind of stick around and become a problem again. So it is much of a personal preference. It's gonna be up to you and how you wanna raise your meat birds and what all you wanna eat out of them. I don't like livers, but my dad does a lot. So temperature, I know I sound like a broken record. Still something that you need to think about. You'll notice that we took our heat sources out. We mentioned several weeks ago that our whole barn is heated. So we actually have it at a nice 65 degrees in here. So we finally felt comfortable removing the extra heat source. And other than that, really just the same things that we've talked about, you know, every week. Food, water, check for odd signs, but really at this point we are almost at the finish line of butchering, so they take very little effort to care for by this point. Thanks again for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'm really excited to show you guys what their final weight ends up being and kind of how to butcher, since I did it for a long time. So thanks again, and we'll see you next week.